Vyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare
Hare Hare.
Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swam Bhakti Namane Namaste Saraswati Devam Gauravani Pracharne Nirvasesha Sunyavari Paschachadeshatarne. Is our Janak with us today? Does Janak want to start? No?
Okay.
Yes, yes.
Om Purnamada Purnidam Purnat Purnamadichyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Shishade Om Shanti
Shanti,
Shanti
Shanti.
Ishvashamidam sarvam yatkincha jagatyam jagat tena jaktena bhunjita magridha kasyasvidhanam purvani vaha karmani jajiva shechchatam samaha evam tvai nanyate tosti na karma lipyate nare. Asurya namate loka andena tamasavrita kamste preja bigajanti yeke chatmahano janaha ahani jadikam manaso javyo naina deva apnuvam purvam arshat tadhavatonyan achiti tistat tasminapo matarishva dadati. Tad ejati tad naijati tad dure tad vantike tad antarasya sarvasya tadu sarvasya shabhayataha. Yastu sarvani bhutani atmani vanupashyati sarva bhuteshu chatmanam tato navi jagupsate. Yasmin sarvani bhutani atmaiva buddhi janata tatra ko mohaka shoka ekatvam anupashyataha saparija shukram makayam avrinam ashnaviram shudham apapavidham avir manishi paribhu swayambhur vikatya chitoridan vyadatatch chaspatibhya samabhyaha. Andham tamaha pravishanti ye vidyam upasate tato bhuyeva te tamo ya uvidyayam rattaha anyad eva hur vidyaya anyad ahura vidyaya iti shushumadhiranam yenastad vichachakshire vidyam cha yas tad vedo bayam saha avidyayam rityum tirtva vidyayam ritam ashnute andham tama pravishanti ye sambhutim upasate tato bhuyeva te tamo ya usambhutam rata. Anyad evahu sambhavad, anyad ahura sambhavat, iti shushumadhiranam yenastad vichachakshire. Sambhutim cha vinasham cha yastad vido bhayam saha, vinashenam rityum tirtva, sambhutam ritam ashnute. Hiranmayena patrena satyasya pihitam mukam tattvam pushana parinu Satyadharmaya Drishtaye. Ushane Karshayama Suya Prajapatya Vyuharasmin Samuha Tejoyate Rupam Kalyanatamam Tate Pashami Yosavaso Purusha Sohamasmi Ayuranilam Amritam Atedam Bhasmantam Shariram Om Krato Smara Kritam Smara Krato Smara Kritam Smara Agnenaya Supataraya Yasman Vishvani Deva Vayunani Vipan Vijodi Asmaj Tuhurana Meno Bhuyishtam Te Nama Uktim Videma Om Purnam Madaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. This week we're on mantra 13. You can put it on the screen. Anyad evahu sambhavad.
Anyadevahu sambhavad.
Anyad ahura sambhavat.
Anyadahura sambhavad.
Nyadahosambhavat
Iti shushumadhiranam.
iti
Iti
sushumadiranam
Yena stadvicha chakshire.
yena
saiti
chakshire
Anyad evahu sambhavat.
Annadevata Sambhavat
Anyadahosambhavat
Anyad ahur asambhavat.
Annadevata Sambhavat
Anyadahosambhavat
Iti shushumadhiranam.
Iti
iti sushumadiranam
Sushrumadhiranam
Yena stadvicha chakshire.
yena chakshire
Anyadevahu sambhavat.
Annadevata
Anyadevahosambhavat
Sambhavat
Anyad ahura sambhavat.
Anyadahosambhavat
Sambhavat
Iti shushumadhiranam.
iti
Iti
sushumadiranam
Sushrumadhiranam
Yena stadvicha chakshire.
yena chakshire
Understand?
Anyadevahu sambhavat.
Anyadevahosambhavat
Anyadahur asambhavat.
Anyadahura sambhavat
Sambhavat
Iti susrumadhiranam.
Iti
iti
Sushrumadhiranam
sushumadiranam
Yena stat vichachasire.
Iti
Chakshire
Sushrumadhiranam
Anyadevahu sambhavat.
Anyadevahosambhavat
Anyahur asambhavat.
Anyadahura sambhavat
Iti susrumadhiranam.
iti sushumadiranam
Yena stat vichachasire.
yena chakshire
Anyadevahur sambhavat.
Anyadevahosambhavat
Anyadahura sambhavat.
Anyadahosambhavat
Iti shushumadiranam.
iti sushumadiranam
Enastad vicha chakshite.
yena chakshire
Anyone else?
Anyadevahu sambhavat.
Annadevata Sambhavat
Anyadahur asambhavat.
Iti
Iti sushrumadhiranam.
Sushrumadhiranam
Iti
येनस्तद्विचक्षिरे
enastadchire
अन्यद्
anyad
एव सम्भवात्
अन्यदेव हु सम्भवात्
सम्भवात्
अन्यद् आहुर् असम्भवात्
anyad ahur asambhavat
असम्भवात्
इति शुश्रुमधीराणाम्
इति
iti
सुश्रुमधीरणाम्
sushrumadhiranam
येनस्तद् विचचक्षिरे
येनस्तद्विचक्षिरे
enastadvichachire anyad eva sambhavat
अन्यदेव हु सम्भवात्
anyadhur ahur asambhavat
अन्यद् अहुर् असम्भवात्
iti sushrumadhiranam
इति सुश्रुमाधीरणाम्
enastada vichachire
येनस्तद्विचक्षिरे
अन्यादेवुः सम्भवान्
अन्यादेव सम्भवात्
अन्यादहुर् असम्भवात्
अन्यादं सम्भवात्
इति शुश्रुमधीराणाम्
इति शुश्रुमधीरणाम्
येनस्तद्विचाचक्षिरे
एनस्तच्चक्षिरे
Anyat,
Anya.
अन्यात्
different.
different
Eva,
eva
certainly.
certainly
Ahu, ah,
ahu
it is said.
it is said
Sambhavat,
sambhavat
by worshipping the Supreme Lord, the cause of all causes.
By worshipping the Supreme Lord, the cause of all causes.
Anyat,
anyat
different.
different
Ahu,
ahu
it is said.
it said
Sambhavat,
sambhavat
by worshipping what is not supreme.
by worshipping not supreme
Iti, thus.
Thus,
Shushuma,
Sushruva,
I heard it.
I heard
I
it.
heard it
Dhiranam,
Dhiranam,
from the undisturbed authorities.
the undisturbed authorities.
Yea,
Yea,
who,
ye
who,
who
naha,
na
unto us,
unto us,
tat,
that
about that subject matter.
about that subject matter.
Vichachakshire, perfectly explained.
Perfectly explained.
explain
Translation. It is said that one result is attained by worshiping the supreme cause of all causes, and that another result is obtained by worshiping what is not supreme. I think the old one said that, which is not supreme. Anyway, what is not supreme. All this is heard from the undisturbed authorities who clearly explained it. Purport. The system of hearing from undisturbed authorities is approved in this mantra. Unless one hears from a bona fide acharya who is never disturbed by the changes of the material world, one cannot have the real key to transcendental knowledge. The bona fide spiritual master, who has also heard the Shruti mantras or Vedic knowledge from his undisturbed acharya, never presents anything that is not mentioned in the Vedic literature. In the Bhagavad Gita 9:25, it is clearly said that those who worship the Pitris or forefathers attain the planets of the forefathers, that the gross materialists who make plans to remain here, stay in this world, and that the devotees of the Lord who worship none but Lord Krishna, the supreme cause of all causes, reach him in his spiritual sky. Here also in Sri Isopnisad, it is verified that one achieves different results by different modes of worship. If we worship the Supreme Lord, we will certainly reach him in his eternal abode. And if we worship demigods like the sun god or moon god, we can reach their respective planets without a doubt. And if we wish to remain on this wretched planet with our planning commissions and a stopgap political adjustments, we can definitely do that also. Someone else like to read? We have a long report, but
nowhere in authentic scriptures it is said that one will ultimately reach the same goal by doing anything or worshiping anyone. Such foolish theories are offered by self-made spiritual masters who have no connection with the parampara, the bona fide system of disciplic succession. The bona fide spiritual master cannot say that all paths lead to the same goal, and that anyone can attain this goal by his own mode of worship of the demigods, or of the supreme, or whatever. Any common man can very easily understand that a person can reach his destination only when he has purchased a ticket for that destination. A person who has purchased a ticket for Kolkata can reach Kolkata, but not Bombay. But the so-called spiritual masters say that any and all paths will take one to the supreme goal. Such mundane and compromising offers attract many foolish creatures who become puffed up with their manufactured methods of spiritual realization. The Vedic instructions, however, do not uphold them. Unless one has received knowledge from the bona fide spiritual master, who is in the recognized line of disciplic succession, one cannot have the real thing as it is. Krishna tells Arjuna in the Bhagavad Gita 4.2, Evam parampara praptam imam rajasaryo vidu sak kalle neha mahata yogo nasaha parantapa. The supreme science was thus received through the chain of disciplic succession, and the saintly kings understood it in that way. But in course of time, the succession was broken, and therefore the science as it appears to be lost.
When Lord Shri Krishna was present on this earth, the Bhakti Yoga principles defined in the Bhagavad Gita had become distorted. Therefore, the Lord had to re-establish the disciplic succession, the disciplic system beginning with Arjuna, who was the most confidential friend and devotee of the Lord. The Lord clearly told Arjuna, Bhagavad Gita 4.3, that it was because Arjuna was his devotee and friend that he could understand the principles of the Bhagavad Gita. In other words, only the Lord's devotee and friend can understand the Gita. This also means that only one who follows the path of Arjuna can understand the Bhagavad Gita.
At the present moment, there are many interpreters and translators of this sublime dialogue who care nothing for Lord Krishna or Arjuna. Such interpreters explain the verses of the Bhagavad Gita in their own way and postulate all sorts of rubbish in the name of the Gita. Such interpreters believe neither in Sri Krishna nor in his eternal abode. How then can they explain the Bhagavad Gita?
Krishna clearly says that only those who have lost their sense worship the demigods for paltry rewards. Bhagavad Gita 7.20-23. Ultimately, he advises that one give up all other ways and modes of worship and fully surrender unto him alone. Bhagavad Gita 18.66. Only those who are cleansed of all sinful reactions can have such unflinching faith in the Supreme Lord. Others will continue hovering on the material platform with their paltry ways of worship, and thus will be misled from the real path under the false impression that all paths lead to the same goal.
In this mantra of Sri Isopnisad, the word Sambhavat, by worship of Supreme Cause, is very significant. Lord Sri Krishna is the original personality of Godhead, and everything that exists that has emanated from him. In Bhagavad Gita 10.8, the Lord says, Aham sarvasya prabhavo, matta sarvam pravartate, iti matva bhajante mam, buddha bhava samanvita. I am the source of all spiritual and material worlds. Everything emanates from me. The wise who perfectly know this engage in my devotional service and worship me with all their hearts.
Anyone else want to read?
Here is a correct description of the Supreme Lord given by the Lord himself. The words Sarvasya Prabhava indicate that Krishna is the creator of everyone, including Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva. And because these three principal deities of the material world are created by the Lord is the creator of all that exists in the material and spiritual world. In the Atharva Veda, Gopal Tapani Upanishad 1.24, it is similarly said, He who existed before the creation of Brahma and who enlightened Brahma with Vedic knowledge is Lord Sri Krishna. Similarly, the Narayana Upanishad 1 states, Then the Supreme Person, Narayana, desired to create all living beings. Thus, from Narayana, Brahma was born. Narayana created all the Prajapatis. Narayana created Indra. Narayana created the 8 Vasus. Narayana created the 11 Rudras. Narayana created the 12 Adityas. Since Narayana is a plenary manifestation of Lord Krishna, Narayana and Krishna are one and the same. The Narayana Upanishad 4 also states, Devaki's son, Krishna, is the Supreme Lord. The identity of Narayana with the Supreme Cause has also been accepted and confirmed by Sripad Shankaracharya, even though Shankara does not belong to the Vaishnava or personalist cult. The Atharva Veda, Maha Upanishad 1, also states, only Narayana existed in the beginning when neither Brahma, nor Shiva, nor fire, nor water, nor stars, nor sun, nor moon existed. The Lord does not remain alone but creates as he desires. Krishna himself states in the Moksha Dharma, I created the Prajapatis and the Rudras. They do not have complete knowledge of me because they are covered by my illusory energy. It is also stated in the Varaha Puran, Narayana is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and from him the four-headed Brahma was manifested, as well as Rudra, who later became omniscient. Thus, all Vedic literatures confirms that Narayana or Krishna is the cause of all causes. In the Brahma Samhita 5.1, also it is said that the Supreme Lord is Shri Krishna Govinda, the delighter of every living being and the primeval cause of all the causes. The really learned persons know this from evidence given by the great sages and the Vedas. Thus, they decide to worship Lord Krishna as all in all. Such persons are called Buddha or really learned because they worship only Krishna.
The conviction that Krishna is all in all is established when one hears the transcendental message from the undisturbed Acharya with faith and love. One who has no faith in or love for Lord Krishna cannot be convinced of this simple truth. Those who are faithless are described in the Bhagavad Gita 9.11 as mudhas, fools or asses. It is said that the mudhas deride the personality of Godhead because they do not have complete knowledge from the undisturbed Acharya. One who is disturbed by the whirlpool of material energy is not qualified to become an Acharya.
Before hearing the Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna was disturbed by the material whirlpool by his affection for his family, society, and community. Thus, Arjuna wanted to become a philanthropic, non-violent man of the world. But when he became Buddha, by hearing the Vedic knowledge of Bhagavad Gita from the Supreme Person, he changed his decision and became a worshipper of Lord Krishna, who had himself arranged the battle of Kurukshetra. Arjuna worshipped the Lord by fighting with his so-called relatives, and in this way he became a pure devotee of the Lord. Such accomplishments are possible only when one worships the real Krishna and not some fabricated Krishna invented by foolish men without knowledge of the intricacies of the science of Krishna described in Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam.
According to the Vedanta Sutra, Sambhuta is the source of birth and sustenance, as well as the reservoir that remains after annihilation. Janmadi Asya Yataha. The Srimad Bhagavatam, the natural commentary on the Vedanta Sutra by the same author, maintains that the source of all emanations is not like a dead stone, but is Abhijna, or fully conscious. The primeval Lord Sri Krishna also says in the Bhagavad Gita 7.26 that he is fully conscious of past, present, and future, and that no one, including demigods such as Shiva and Brahma, knows him fully. Certainly, half educated spiritual leaders who are disturbed by the tides of material existence cannot know him fully. They try to make some compromise by making the mass of humanity the object of worship, but they do not know that such worship is only a myth because the masses are imperfect. The attempt by these so called spiritual leaders is something like pouring water on the leaves of a tree instead of the root. The natural process is to pour water on the root, but such disturbed leaders are more attracted to the leaves than the root. Despite their perpetually watering the leaves, however, everything dries up for want of nourishment.
Sri Isopnisad advises us to pour water onto the root, the source of all germination. Worship of the mass of humanity by rendering bodily service, which can never be perfect, is less important than service to the soul. The soul is the root that generates different types of bodies according to the law of karma. To serve human beings by medical aid, social help, and educational facilities, while at the same time cutting the throats of the poor animals in slaughterhouses, is no service at all to the soul, the living being.
The living being is perpetually suffering in different types of bodies from the material miseries of birth, old age, disease, and death. The human form of life offers one a chance to get out of this entanglement simply by re-establishing the lost relationship between the living entity and the Supreme Lord. The Lord comes personally to teach his philosophy of surrender unto the Supreme, the Sambhuta. The real service to humanity is rendered when one teaches surrender to and worship of the Supreme Lord with full love and energy. That is the instruction of Sri Isha Upanishad in this mantra.
The simple way to worship the Supreme Lord in the age of disturbance is to hear and chant about his great activities. The mental speculators, however, think that the activities of the Lord are imaginary. Therefore, they refrain from hearing of them and invert some world jugglery without any substance to divert the attention of the innocent masses of people. Instead of hearing of these activities of Lord Krishna, such pseudo-spiritual masters advertise themselves by inducing the flower to sing about them. In modern times, the number of such pretenders has increased considerably, and it has become a problem for the pure devotees of the Lord to save the masses of people from the unholy propaganda of these presenters and pseudo incarnations.
The Upanishads indirectly draw our attention to the primeval Lord, Sri Krishna. But the Bhagavad Gita, which is a summary of all the Upanishads, directly points to Sri Krishna. Therefore, one should hear about Krishna as he is by hearing from the Bhagavad Gita or Srimad Bhagavatam. And in this way, one's mind will gradually be cleansed of all contaminated things. Srimad Bhagavatam 1-17 says, by hearing of the activities of the Lord, the devotee draws the attention of the Lord. Thus, the Lord, being situated in the heart of every living being, helps the devotee by giving him proper directions. The Bhagavad Gita 10:10 confirms this. Dadhami buddhi yogam tam yena mam upayanti te.
The Lord's inner direction cleanses the devotee's heart of all contamination produced by the material modes of passion and ignorance. Non-devotees are under the sway of passion and ignorance. One who is in the passion cannot be detached from material hankering, and one who is in ignorance cannot know what he is or what the Lord is. Thus, when one is in passion or ignorance, there is no chance of self-realization. However much one may play the part of a religious. For a devotee, the modes of passion and ignorance are removed by the grace of the Lord. In the way, the devotee becomes situated in the quality of goodness, the sign of a perfect Brahmana. Anyone who can qualify as a Brahmana, if he follows the path of devotional service under the guidance of a bona fide spiritual master. Srimad Bhagavatam 2.4.18 also says, can't read, Kirita Hunanandra Pulinda Pulkasa Abhira Sumba Yavana Sharadaya Yedne cha Papa Yad Aparasya Rasaraya Shuddhanti Tasmad Prabhavishane Namaha. Any low-born person can be purified by the guidance of a pure devotee of the Lord. The Lord is extraordinarily powerful.
When one attains Brahmanical qualifications, he becomes happy and enthusiastic to render devotional service to the Lord. Automatically, the science of God is unveiled before him. By knowing the science of God, one gradually becomes freed from material attachments, and one's doubtful mind becomes crystal clear by the grace of the Lord. One who attains this state is a liberated soul and can see the Lord in every step of life. This is the purification, perfection of Sambhava, as described in this mantra of Isopnisad.
Anyarevaho sambhavat anyarahur sambhavat iti shushumadhiranam yenastadi. It is said that one result is attained by worshipping the supreme cause of all causes, and that another result is attained by worshipping that which is not supreme. All this is heard from the undisturbed authorities who clearly explained it. If you remember mantra 10, it sounds just like this one. The wise have explained that one result is derived from the culture of knowledge and that a different result is obtained from the culture of nescience. Like I said before, mantra 9, 10, and 11 are like mantra 12, 13, and 14, respectively. So these must be, to be repeated must be important. The Lord must want to make a point. It must be important that we understand what's being said here. It's being repeated. In mantra 12, it was explained that what happens to those who worship that which is not supreme, the worshippers of the demigods go to the demigods, worshippers of the ancestors go to the ancestors, worshippers of ghosts and spirits take birth among such beings. And it's considered darkness of ignorance because it results in remaining in this temporary dark material world perpetually. And all paths do not lead to the same goal. I think the saying was yatamat, tatapat, something like that. All paths lead to the same. But according to Lord Krishna, they do not. And in mantra 13, it also explains that another fate awaits those who do worship the Supreme, as which is heard from the dhira, or the sober, the wise, the undisturbed bona fide authorities. And who is the dhira? We talked about dhira in mantra 10. And in here, it also mentions that the dhira is one who is not disturbed by the changing material circumstances. Dhiras tatra namuyati. The embodied soul continuously passes in this body from boyhood to youth to old age. And the soul similarly passes into another body at death. But the sober person, Dhir's Tatra Numuyati, the sober person is not bewildered by such a change. Any man who has perfect knowledge of the constitution of the individual soul, the super soul and nature, both material and spiritual, he's called Dhira, or sober man. And the Dhira, we learn from the Upadeshamrita, nectar of instruction, that a Dhira is the master of the senses, a Swami. He's not disturbed by the pushings or the bodily urges. Vachavegam, manasakroda vegam, jiva vegam, udapasta vegam, etan veganyo vishaheta dhira, sarvam apimam pritivim sasisha. And therefore he's qualified to make disciples all over the world. And it's not artificial repression. That isn't how he controls his senses, not denying the urges, but by experiencing a higher taste, param dristva nivartate. The Dhira is able to see such engagements by him experiencing a higher taste, by experiencing that unparalleled transcendental ambrosia of Krishna Prema. One automatically loses attraction for the lower material tastes or experiences. And he becomes fixed in his determination and resolute in purpose, vyavasayatmika buddhir. So everything he does is actually service to the Lord. Everything he does is devotional service. The qualified acharya, or spiritual master in disciplic succession from the Lord, is the Dhira. Therefore, sorry, he's the Dhira, the one who's able to control his senses. And therefore, he's able to deliver the Lord's message as it is. He has no ulterior motive. For one who cannot control his senses, he can't be steady in his determination. So the bona fide acharya, the Dhira, the spiritual master, he's able to deliver the Lord's message without changing anything, without manufacturing anything new. He realizes the message and he's qualified to deliver that same message as it is. The acharya teaches not only by precept, but by personal example. He's the person Bhagavat, which is non-different than the book Bhagavat. He only repeats what he has understood from his spiritual master, coming in disciplic succession from Krishna himself. Srila Prabhupada said that an acharya is an ideal teacher who knows the purport of the revealed scriptures. He behaves exactly according to their injunctions and teaches his students to adopt those principles also. He's in the acharya parampara. And one cannot be a bona fide authorized spiritual master without following strictly in the disciplic succession of acharyas. One who's serious about advancing in devotional service should desire to serve these acharyas, to satisfy them. Acharya upasanam was one of the characteristics of knowledge that we read from chapter 13 of Bhagavad Gita, text 8 through 12, approaching a bona fide spiritual master. That's listed as one of the characteristics of knowledge, Acharya Pasanam. Hearing from, receiving Vedic knowledge from the Dhira, or this Acharya in disciplic succession, it's the key to transcendental knowledge. Otherwise, if we gain our knowledge elsewhere, there's no guarantee that we'll have the real thing, that we'll have divine knowledge as it is. So therefore, we're so fortunate to be connected to Srila Prabhupada. He is the perfect acharya. He's a Dhira in every way. He's undisturbed by the changes of material nature. He's on the transcendental platform, Brahma Bhuta Prasanatma. Therefore, he's always joyful. Even if he may appear otherwise. Once Jadharani, she wanted to paint a picture of Prabhupada, and Prabhupada gave her a photo, and in the picture, Prabhupada looked very grave, and Jadharani was saying, "Oh, but you look so sad." And Prabhupada said, "Oh, that was a moment of great ecstasy." So, I mean, we may not always be able to perceive, the transcendental emotions that the pure devotee is experiencing. But he's transcendental to the modes of nature. There's no room in his heart because his heart is full of Krishna prema. There's no room for the modes of nature of passion and ignorance. Tada rajas tamo bhava kamalova dayas chaye cheta eter anavidam stitam sattve prasidati. As soon as irrevocable loving service is established in the heart, the effects of nature's modes of passion and ignorance, such as lust, desire, and hankering, disappear from the heart. Then the devotee is established in goodness and he becomes completely happy. That's from the Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, chapter 2, text 19. So the acharya must be bona fide, but the disciple also should be bona fide. And in this purport, Prabhupada talks about Arjuna as being the perfect disciple. His qualification was that he was a devotee of Krishna, and he actually was a friend. He was established in his relationship with Krishna through service. Bhaktosi me sakha cheti. He's Krishna's devotee and friend. So first we have to hear from the spiritual master to remove all our doubts, and then be ready to accept his instructions and be prepared to act on them. As Arjuna was prepared to act on Krishna's instructions. All of them. Not choose, pick and choose, but be prepared to accept all of them. We might not always understand the instructions of the spiritual master, but he's always our ever well-wisher and will always give what will help us to advance in our spiritual life. And by hearing his instructions, our doubts should be dispelled. The spiritual master's torchlight of transcendental knowledge, it ignites within our heart, in the heart of the sincere disciple, and it dispels the darkness of ignorance, the doubts and the illusions. And then we'll be able to properly see with clear vision what is what. And then we'll be able to act like Arjuna, Sarvametad Ritam Manye Yanmam Vadasi Keshava, and be able to say, I totally accept as truth all that you have told me, Karishe Vachanam Tava, and I am prepared to act according to your instructions. So this is the goal of the disciple, to be fully fixed in the instructions of the spiritual master and act accordingly. I know there wasn't much time. This purport was very long and took up most of the class, but it's important for us to hear Srila Prabhupada's words because his words are non-different than Lord Krishna's, because he is coming in the bona fide parampara from Lord Krishna himself. And this transcendental vibration has been handed down from acharya to acharya. And so at this point, I'd better stop and ask if there are any questions, because we don't have much time left. We were able to cover some of the points. This dhiranam was stressed in this purport quite a lot, so I wanted to talk on that. I know there are other points, but if anyone has any questions thus far. Or comments?
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Mataji Dandavat Pranam. Mataji, regarding bona fide devotee, so does it mean one who has connected to parampara with official initiation, or the one who is even without having initiation, he is performing devotional service?
How is he performing that devotional service if he has not accepted instructions from the spiritual master in parampara? Therefore, either way, if he is accepted in his heart, the bona fide spiritual master, and he's following the instructions, then that's a bona fide disciple. Maybe the formalities haven't taken place, but that's secondary. The Divya Gyan, the divine knowledge, is the most important. The formalities are important and are stressed, but the most important is that we receive the knowledge from the bona fide spiritual master within our heart.
Thank you, Mataji. That helps.
Mood, like Arjuna, he was considered the bona fide disciple because his mood of submission, he surrendered to Krishna and was ready to act on his instruction. I don't think they sat down and had a fire yagya, at that point. So the shiksha, the instruction is the most important. Did that answer your question?
Yes, Mataji. Thank you so much. Yeah.
I read a nice thing in the 7th canto purport. It said that a Nitya Siddha devotee comes from Vaikuntha upon the order of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and shows by his personal example how to become a pure devotee. Anyabilasita sunyam. A pure devotee, therefore, is a practical example for all living entities, including Lord Brahma. So the Lord sends his pure devotees just so he can show, give that example, and the pure devotee, he's so like the spiritual master is the external manifestation of super soul. So the pure devotee, he's like, he has all the qualities of Krishna and he's so attractive. So you get a sample of Krishna through the pure devotee, because he's so fixed in his love for Krishna. If the spiritual master is considered an ordinary man, the disciple surely loses his chance to advance further, Prabhupada said. One should consider the spiritual master to be as good as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And he is for us, because we're not able to visually experience the presence of the Lord, except through his deity form, through his books, through his holy name. We experience the Lord like that. But his full manifestation, it says, since one cannot visually experience the presence of the super soul, he appears before us as a liberated devotee. Such a spiritual master is none other than Krishna himself. He's as good as Krishna. He's the Supreme Personality of Godhead servitor. He's the Supreme Personality of Servitor Godhead. That's it, servitor. On the whole, the spiritual master is an agent of Krishna. Either he is assistant to the gopis or assistant to the cowherd boys. He is on the level of Krishna. That is the verdict of all scriptures. And we were just reading the prayers of the personified Vedas, and it's just like the Upanishads, a lot of the prayers. But the Shrutis, they desire to follow in the footsteps of the gopis and to obtain the status of the gopis. We just read that. So we can understand that, the personified Vedas are in such a high stature, yet they want to obtain the level of the gopis, which is the highest, which the Lord himself came to teach and show us through his example is Lord Chaitanya. He was also exemplary, coming as a devotee to experience himself, Radharani's love of the gopis for him, and to also teach others. This is the highest. Any comments, questions, corrections? And I like at the end of the purport, Prabhupada quotes the verse that, anyone can become a devotee, no matter our background. That's not important. One doesn't have a birthright to become a devotee. Any low-born person can be purified by the guidance of a pure devotee of the Lord. For the Lord is extraordinarily powerful. Kirata Hunanda Palinda Pulkasha. In the Bhagavatam, it explains that these are different races, like the Huna, I think, is the Hungarian. Pulinda, I think, is the Greek. Andhra is from, I believe, South India, somewhere in South India. Anyway, you can look in the purport to this verse in the Bhagavatam, and it explains further on these different races of persons. And some of them are considered lower class materially, but even if one is born into such a situation, one can become a devotee. There's no bar. So there's 1 minute left. These are long purports, but it's important to hear Srila Prabhupada's words. My only wish is to have my consciousness purified by the words emanating from his lotus mouth. He opens my darkened eyes and fills my heart with transcendental knowledge. He is my Lord, birth after birth. Beautiful Guru Puja song we sing. Guru Vandana from the Prema Bhakti Chandrika by Narottam Das Thakur. No comments, questions, anything? If not, we will sign out here. We are past halfway. Next week is mantra 14, moving right along.
Thank you, Jiva, for another enlightening class. Very nice.
Thank you. I didn't have much time. I was dressing all the deities today.
Yeah, I was actually asking Ganapati Govind which part of the Vedas is Isopnisad from, and he said it's from Shukla Yajurveda or something like that. And
the Yajur.
From the Yajurveda. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then, there's so many Upanishads, and then Prabhupada says that the Gita Upanishad is the essence of all of them.
Mm-hmm.
Spoken directly by Lord Krishna.
Right. Complete in itself.
Yes, everything is there. One time Prabhupada said that all answers could be answered with the Bhagavad Gita. So all questions can be answered by Bhagavad Gita. All right.
Yeah, all answers are in there, yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So shall we chant Vancha?
Thank you, Mother Jiva.
Thank you, Mother Jiva.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Krishna, everyone.